Sidney Powell, the conservative Trump lawyer or ex-Trump lawyer, is currently defending herself against a $1.3 billion defamation suit launched by, of course, Dominion. That's Dominion Voting Systems. They make voting machines. And, of course, Sidney Powell is one of those people, along with the MyPillow guy, that has been basically accusing the company of resurrecting the ghost of Hugo Chavez, working together with him, and Iran and all these different places to try to steal the election away from Donald Trump and give it to Joe Biden. Now, of course, we all know that's absolute garbage. And even she knows that it's absolute garbage. And so, nonetheless, in order to continue to basically make her stake the claim, or I should say to stake her claim to fame within the Trump right-wing sphere, and, to get all these money from the gullible rubes, she had to go all over conservative media after Donald Trump basically made her a superstar and go and repeat these ridiculous things, these absolute lies. All right. So, all right. That's interesting. And now that she's being sued, she is asking the court to throw out the lawsuit, this defamation suit, because she would never be able to afford to pay $1.3 billion or be held accountable whatsoever. And she is using a defense that we have seen before. It's called the Fox News defense. And so what that basically is that she is saying that reasonable people would never believe her claims because they're so crazy and they're so out there that no one in their right mind would believe it. And therefore, well, if nobody believes it, then is it really defamation if it's so crazy and insane that no reasonable people would believe it? I mean, it's very interesting. Great. Now, the election infrastructure company Dominion Voting Systems did sue Powell for defamation after she pushed a bunch of different lawsuits, as well as made appearances in conservative media on behalf of then President Donald Trump to talk about the 2020 election results, to basically sow doubt. Now, that company, being an election infrastructure company, yeah, it was kind of harmed by this whole thing. All right. Not only that, but more importantly to me, it harms democracy as a concept and in execution as well. So for the company, the harm that it caused, these lies, is that, well, who's going to buy election infrastructure from this company if, people are going out there and saying, well, it can't be trusted. It can't be trusted. It's fraudulent. It allows for massive amounts of voter fraud. And so obviously, it's changing votes to Joe Biden away from Donald Trump, even though there's absolutely no evidence of that, of course. Nonetheless, that's what they're saying. Well, now, if there's an air of doubt around the product as this company puts out, you think Republican governors are going to buy it? No. You think Democratic governors, with this, basically this shadow hanging over their head of, well, if we buy this and we use this, then my Republican opponents will just come out and say, look, he's rigging the election, and then, get all this animosity, whatever, and use this to attack me. Well, then that's going to put me in a bad political position. So I'm not going to buy these voting machines either. And so this company loses out on essentially what its main goal is to make money off selling voting machines to different states. There's where the harm is. That's why I believe, personally, in my non-lawyer opinion, that this is a textbook case of defamation. Again, it's their literal business model to sell these machines. You can see the harm that this could cause their business. Now, again, I'm not as concerned that a corporation was harmed. I know, oh, well, those poor corporations. No, I don't really care as much about that, but I do care about the harm to democracy. These allegations, known as a big lie, basically undermine our entire system of representative democracy. If you believe the elections are not legitimate, then, well, you're less likely to participate. And you're also more likely to consider the government is completely illegitimate, and then that could lead to, of course, sedition, violent acts, things like that. All right. Now, what's interesting about this is that generally Republicans like low voter turnout. I mean, but look, we all know for decades, conservatives have been pushing this. We want to restrict voting. We want to make sure that less people actually vote. We want to do voter IDs. We want to, close polling places. We want to make sure that minorities are not protected, when it comes to basically having their voting rights. But see, the thing about that is that generally tends to favor them. What the big lie does, and this is why Mitch McConnell, this is why the rest of the establishment Republicans are so against this, right? Are like, no, the elections are completely legitimate. We actually agree with the facts in this time, which is incredibly rare for a Republican to actually believe in facts in reality. But in this case, they do it because it's self-motivated. Because the people that believe in this the most, this conspiracy theory, are Republicans, are their own voters. And if their own voters are less likely to vote, well, you can see why that would cause a problem for Mitch McConnell. You would think that you would see why he would go, oh, no. I have to push back on Donald Trump for this, even though I'm going to come out and say, oh, well, there was errors and there's things like that. Well, we should definitely look into that so we can continue to defraud. I'm sorry, not defraud, but we can continue to deny people of color access to their ballots, and so that they are not able to vote in massive numbers so we can win again. But we still want to get our people out there. We need to get our people out there, our voters out there. And if they believe in this crazy conspiracy, that's going to make them less likely to go out and vote. So, all right, I get it. That's essentially what I see. That's the breakdown. All right. Now, the thing is that the right wing is so full of insane conspiracy theories. They are the party of conspiracies. Now, look, they've been for a long time, but it's really been adopted into the Republican mainstream a lot more so. And I could go through the long history of how the Republicans basically set this whole thing up. I would think some of them pretty unknowingly, some of them absolutely knowingly setting up these conspiracies. And setting up the stage for an entire electorate to basically no longer believe in reality. Because if you set up an electorate to no longer believe in the reality, well, then you can sell them on basically anything, whether it be boner pills, whether it be, these beta male, whatever, or alpha male shakes or something like that, these supplements that they're always hawking on Alex Jones. And you can also get them to believe in ridiculous policies like trickle-down economics. No, don't worry. The money will trickle down eventually. I mean, not really, but we're going to say that it does. Any day now. You'll feel it. It'll be like a warm rain all over the back of your head. That's our trickle-down. But anyway, now, one of the people, the conspiracy theorists in this, that is likely to be grifting because of her defense, Sidney Powell. I actually do believe the MyPillow guy believes in this stuff. Like, he's also being sued by Dominion Voting, but this guy's like, oh yeah, bring it on. I got all the evidence. And he's actually working with the Satanic Panic guy to go and come up with a defense and to try to prove that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. Hey, Satanic Panic guy, tell us about how it was all the devil. The devil. Oh, okay. No, he believes it. Sidney Powell does not believe it. I think she is slightly smarter than that, and knows how to try to grift an audience. And that's what it's all about. All right. So now, in her new court filing, Powell's attorney write that she was only sharing her opinion on the election and that the public would reach their own conclusions about whether or not the votes were changed by election machines. Spoiler alert, they weren't. Given the highly charged and political context of the statements, her lawyer said, it is clear that Powell was describing the facts on which she based the lawsuit she filed in support of President Trump. Indeed, plaintiffs themselves characterized the statements at issue as wild accusations and outlandish claims. They're repeatedly labeled inherently improbable and even impossible. Such characterizations of the allegedly defamatory statements further support defendant's position that reasonable people would not accept such statements as fact, but view them only as claims that await testing by the courts through the adversary process. So basically, in trying to save her own ass, she is calling all the people, the millions and millions of Trump voters who believe that there was a massive conspiracy to go and steal the election from Donald Trump and give it to Joe Biden. They're calling those people who believe in this stupid and unreasonable. At the very least, they're saying unreasonable. Well, no reasonable person, no person who, basically knows anything, knows facts or believes in reality, would ever believe these outlandish claims. I mean, come on. Reasonable people would never believe in this insane stuff. But millions of otherwise, many would consider to be reasonable people, now believe in unreasonable things, massively unreasonable things, such as the ghost of Hugo Chavez assisting Joe Biden in stealing the election. So this is just a problem with, of course, conservative ideology. At this point, it is basically predicated, since it's not on fact. It has to be based on something, and that something happens to be conspiracies, which of course make the person who believes in the conspiracy the only one, the special one. I'm the only one who believes in the truth. I'm the only one who sees this. The rest of you've got your eyes wide shut, and it's, you're the sheep, and you're following along with this narrative that isn't actually true, and I'm the only one, so please believe with me, and you can be special too. Right. Got it. So now I think that's an interesting strategy by Ms. Powell. Let's see how this plays out. Now, she also claims in court, her lawyers do, that her statements about the election were a matter of public concern about a publicly known company, Dominion, and thus is protected by the First Amendment. Oh, she's going there. Now, her attorneys also claim that she had a right to make these accusations because she was acting as an attorney for the Trump campaign, even during her TV appearances, of which the Trump campaign, of course, tried to distance themselves away from. As a result, Powell is asking a judge in Washington, D.C. to dismiss the case, or, and this is interesting, allow it to be moved to the Texas federal court, which I'm assuming that she assumes that she was going to get far more preferential treatment from the lawyers down in from the judges down in Texas. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So again, defamation is not free speech. It is not protected by the First Amendment. There's a limit here. You can't knowingly lie about someone or a company in this case, right? And that's really what it is. There's a difference between having an opinion and then saying outright, this company stole the election from you and we will provide proof. Release the Kraken. That's what she said. She said she was going to release the Kraken. And then, of course, that turned out to be a floppy, dead, sneaky fish. And so, maybe like a blobfish. I know, I'm doing the blobfish dirty, aren't I? Sorry about that. All right, any blobfish aficionados out there, I do apologize. But all right. But basically, she's saying that her arguments, my arguments, are so knowingly crazy and out of step to the reality that no normal person would ever believe in this, right? And therefore didn't cause any harm. Also, my constitutional right says it's okay to say these insane things because I assume that nobody believes them, and therefore it's part of my free speech. Now, again, I'm no lawyer, but this doesn't seem to make sense. Then again, you look at the other person who used the same kind of defense, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson also said, hey, no reasonable person would believe things that I say. And so obviously that should protect me and my ability to say these things. I don't know how that's going to fly in this case. Again, because we're dealing with two different things. Again, we're dealing with a corporation here versus Karen McDougal, which is a private citizen in the case of Tucker Carlson and Fox News. And, basically his lies his defamation of her character. It's again, knowing how the system favors corporations. I'm thinking maybe this has a bigger, and not only that, but since, you know, Sidney Powell is not a Fox News personality, but a lawyer that worked on behalf of the Trump campaign, I think the situation here is actually massively different. And I don't know if that defense, I don't think that the defense is going to be very effective. But again, that's my personal non-lawyer opinion. So you can definitely take it as a grain of salt. I just haven't seen any evidence from legal experts to say that this could be an effective strategy. Well, we'll have to see. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.